So we're going to go ahead and get started. We usually have some folks who kind of wander in, and tonight is Monday night reading. Everybody here is pretty much a familiar face, but just in case, and for the recording, I'll say Monday night reading is born from my desire to see nonfiction authors get the same kind of opportunities to read from their work that fiction authors do. It's very routine in the fiction world. It's not routine in the nonfiction world. So I said, let's change that. They write great stuff. They have good stories. That's how this was born. And the reason I call it Monday Night Readings is because back in the day, when I was a young playwright at the Playwright Center in Minneapolis, that's the night that we had the reads. And they were called Monday. They were just called that, Monday Night Readings. Nothing fancy. So I thought, all right, let's do that again. I'll come back to Monday nights. And it's evolved. It's evolved into something that students from Top 3 Book Workshop and from our Writing Sprint community wait for and are excited for. I didn't expect that. It's a milestone to do Monday night reading now. So I'm thrilled for that. This recording will also be up on YouTube. If you've missed any of our Monday night readings, they are all there. And so you can go watch other readings from other authors. Tonight we welcome Jules Apollo. Hey, Jules. Jules from my home state, live from Minnesota. And Jules is reading from her debut nonfiction title, Spirit Guides on Speed Dial. And this is the clicker, a pragmatic approach to getting what you want. I love that subtitle so much, and I love the title so much. I welcome, Jules. Do you mind if I just chatter a little bit about what it was like to have you in class?
No.
Okay. So this is pragmatic that's Jules. Jules is pragmatic. And the thing that's interesting is in her cohort, there were a lot of different types of people writing different types of books. And I think everyone was very supportive of Jules and the topic and very interested, but it wasn't until Jules started actually participating in live edit for this book and people could see what she was talking about that people said, well, hang on now. I'm not just going to be supportive. When will this book be done? Could I possibly have a copy? And when I said, does anybody here, including all of you professors and corporates, your CEOs and all you folks that are in this class, want to be an advanced reader for Jules? And every hand went up. So even if you think spirit guides are not, I think, well, I'm interested, but I don't know if that's for me. This is the book for you because this addresses that sort of preconceived notions we have about what are spirit guides and what does it mean? And do I have to be religious? And what if I am religious? Or what if I don't feel spiritual? What if I feel silly? And the question, the really underlying thing that I think Jules said in a live edit once when is the thing that I think keeps us from it is I said, what's really going on? And she said, well, we don't think we deserve it. We don't think we're deserving of that love from the universe. She calls it a benevolent force. And so I hope that no matter what your belief system is, that you will listen with an open heart, and you're going to realize that this is just what it says on the box, a pragmatic approach, and it's really, really helpful. I know it's helped me personally. So I hope I've talked enough to maybe tamp down some nervousness, Jules. Just a little bit. We're going to go for it.
It is what it is,
We're going to go for it.
Yep.
All right. First, we need Laura Stone to introduce Jules Apollo.
I would absolutely love to. Hi, Jules. So for all of you, Jules Apollo has done the seemingly impossible. She's taken a topic that some would consider woo-woo and made it completely accessible for the everyday person. Instead of requiring shadowy alley mediums, instead, you can sit in your garden in clogs and a plaid overshirt, soaking up sunshine, and connect to a higher plane. That may be what I did this weekend. For over 3 decades, Jules has used her no-nonsense approach to help others gain access to inner wisdom and a sense of the divine. And contrary to what you may believe, Jules actually loves to be in the light. Now, not the spotlight and not the limelight, but the divine light of exuberant joy, love, and acceptance. Spirit Guides on Speed Dial is a practical handbook to help you feel that exuberance as well. She loves forest walks with her Shiba Inu, watching old movies, and reading stacks of books. And I have heard that she is, in person, a hoot. And I'll share in the chat how you can stay connected. AJ?
Awesome. So listen, this book is available now. I want to read what, and I have to take off my glasses to do it because I can't see I can't see that small anymore. I'm so impressed by this. Midwest Book Review, no slouch, y'all. That is that's an industry critical review. This book is not just a read, it's an experience. This exceptional book is a treasure trove of knowledge and guidance. Just one of an entire list of pull quotes from trade reviews. Really, really impressive. Okay, Jules. What do I always ask? You ready to go?
I wrote them on the inside of the book.
Okay.
So I could just read them.
You know what I want from you? I would like you to send me, take a picture of your fundamentals written on the inside of your book and send it to me, please. And I will treasure it forever.
I will do that.
Book fundamentals. Who is your ideal reader?
I'm writing for people who want to work with their spirit guides, who are struggling with how to get started and may not realize they don't trust themselves to do it right.
And what is your, go ahead. You want to
core message. My core message is your spirit guides are all around you and already helping you. And the promise is by the end of this book, you'll have the tools you need to work with your guides and trust their guidance.
Love. I love my favorite part of the core messages, and they are already helping you. That's my favorite part of that message. Okay, so I want you to set up the first excerpt. What are we going to hear?
All right, I'm going to start with the story at the beginning of chapter 1. The title of that chapter is Start Where You Are.
Before you do that, everybody, if you're new to this group, or even if you just need a reminder, we do not in any way share any sort of criticism on this night. We do, however, share the things we love, what resonates with us, lines we love. You'll see examples of it in the chat as other people who are usually here, the regulars, will lead the way, and we hope you follow suit. We do give the chat to the author, and it's a lovely memento for them, so please don't hesitate, be effusive in your commentary. And throughout the evening, Laura will also give you links where you can order this book for you and friends. And more importantly, or not less more importantly, equally important, leave a dang Amazon review, would ya? Okay, let's go, Jules.
The fall of 1986. I'm sitting in the chipped old bathtub of my apartment near the University of Minnesota's St. Paul campus, where I've just started graduate school after 2 years of planting trees at the edge of the Sahel Desert in Niger, West Africa, with the Peace Corps. I'm trying to find a way to quiet all the voices in my head telling me I suck, so I can have a few minutes of calm, and I've read that sitting in warm water can help. After quite a bit of work over 6 months, I am now able to spend a few minutes at a time in quiet meditation. And today I start noticing white blobs around me when I close my eyes. I'm just curious about these as they don't feel bad. In fact, they feel great. There's so much gentle love flowing from them. From that day on, each time I meditated, the blobs were there. And over a few months, the blob got closer and more defined, but still indistinct figures. I couldn't see clear faces. They were some sort of beings of light, as they only felt good. What could they be? This was before the internet. Who's young enough to have never known when there was never an internet? I remember the first time I got on the internet. Anyway, so just try to imagine a time before the internet. This was before the internet, so the only books I'd been able to find on meditation were dense tomes about Tibetan monks. The only ones that mentioned spirit guides were in the small occult sections of some bookstores, and they didn't give clear steps on how to work with guides, how to start communicating with them, or what it meant if they just started showing up. Were there established spiritual protocols I was supposed to adhere to? It felt strange, like I was invited to a fancy banquet and didn't know how to use all the silverware. I checked out books from the libraries and bought books on Tibetan Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity, searching for details on anyone who shared visions, such as Hildegard of Bingen, and anything I could find on angels. As far as I could tell, angels were the only type of being of light mentioned in almost every religion. This went on for a year, me researching and the shapes moving closer and feeling wonderful. And as they became more defined, I seemed to see wings. Finally, I asked if they were angels. They got brighter when I asked this, and I felt a huge wave of love surrounding me. Why were they hanging around me? What did they want? I pulled out of the meditation because it made me so uncomfortable. I thought I must be making it up. But regardless, if they got too close, they'd see I wasn't worth talking to. I had no experience with angels, let alone the belief that there was any possible way they'd find me worthy enough to spend time with. I grew up going to a strict Missouri Synod Lutheran church in Iowa where angels were never mentioned. It was mostly ask for forgiveness and get back to work. My need to quiet my inner voices was too strong for me to stop trying to find some peace of mind, though. And over time, I became more comfortable around the angels. They showed up in different sizes, all of them exuding peace and love, hovering around me without asking me to do anything. So, over the next few years, I played with the angels without telling anyone and simply enjoyed their presence. Sometimes I heard the singing of angelic choirs, which was luscious, and sometimes they shared messages of love and support. They didn't seem to want anything. I looked for books about angels to see if I could figure out whether their different sizes might indicate that they were different kinds of angels and what those different kinds might be. It took many more months for me to figure out that the tall angels who exuded the brightest light might be archangels. When I asked if they were indeed archangels and got the same energy hit that felt like a yes, I instantly pulled out of the meditation and didn't go back for a while. There was no reason archangels would want to hang out with me. I was mentally messed up with lots of voices in my head and still have, a terrible temper. With my low self-esteem, there was no way I could accept archangels showing up to be with me. But oh, the love that poured from them. Shutting them out was like asking myself not to butter and shove freshly baked bread into my mouth. I craved the love and acceptance that is always part of their light, that just beams from them. Who doesn't want that? There is so much exuberant joy in their energy. It's not just a still and silent love. Over time, I got comfortable with them being around, and my work on feeling worthy of that love began. It's so difficult for us to feel we're worthy of spiritual guidance of any kind, let alone the joyful love we experience when we do tap into it. But what I know from my experience working with people for more than 35 years is that we all have a bunch of guides around us all the time, and they're already working with us and want to help. So we might as well lean into it. My intention with this book is to give you the tools you need, including proven scripts and tips to work with your spirit guide starting right where you are today. This process doesn't require you to have an existing spiritual or meditation practice. It doesn't even require quiet sitting meditation. I can't do that. My brain just doesn't shut up. So I developed other ways to work with guides. We all have access to inner wisdom from our soul and guides. There are no tests to pass and no gatekeepers to the wisdom and love they share.
I love it. You're not gonna keep going. What else do you wanna do you wanna read again or do you want me to do questions?
Do you want me to keep going in this chapter?
Well, I want to know what you'd like to read next.
Oh, I was going to read something from the dreams and goals chapters. So you want to
Okay,
ask
so
some questions?
let's have a little chat. Yeah, and by the way, if anybody here has a question about spirit guides, speak up because Jules is very good at answering these questions. Um, just off the cuff. So feel free to ask if you have one in the chat. So I'm going to ask, why was it so important to you to create this pragmatic guide, to really stand out in this way with it's so practical, the book, you guys. It's so practical, down to here's what you could say, and here's this other thing you could say, and here's what to do if you don't have enough time, and here's this just very practical things. Why was that so important to you?
Well, two reasons. We all deserve to have access to this love. I mean, I can see all the guides behind everybody on this phone call. They're just around waiting for us to ask for help because it's a free will world. So we need to ask for help, and we all deserve that. And it's hard to be a human, especially anymore with all the crap going on, right? I cannot imagine not having access to the to the answers that I can get with all the genocide and war and hunger, and I mean it's a messed up world. So that was the first thing. The second is that so much spiritual guidance is either a skinny yoga teacher who had 5 minutes of enlightenment and now wants to tell you what to do, or right, people who've spent
Yeah.
decades and they're part of a process that's centuries old and we can't even understand the words that they're saying, right? It doesn't have to be hard. And so everything in the book I came up with when I was a single mom, and no time, no money, no extra, loungewear that, was matching their little meditation pillows. So it's much easier than we're taught to believe. So that's why.
So tell me how this working with the guides does help you in these times. When your worry comes up or concern about the future, or you're wondering how to contribute, or I don't know, what stresses you out about the times we live in, how do you work with your guides?
I didn't realize how much I worked with them all day long until I started writing this book. It's from everything. Like I'm always misplacing things, right? Like not just keys, but where is my old passport after we moved, right? And it's buried somewhere. And all I do is ask. And then I move around the house and they show me where it is. But also a lot of what I do, because my background is very environmental, I'm trained as a forester. I work with my guides on planetary environmental issues and ecological restoration. And when I see people, police, for instance, being triggered to start acting like violent idiots, I call in my guides because you can see it. They're like normal people, and then all of a sudden they're triggered and they're just hiding behind their little mask with their big ass guns, right? When I see people being triggered, I call in the guides and I'm like, I call in divine peace, divine justice. I ask the archangels to walk through the government buildings, to walk through the wars, to do everything they can to bring peace on this planet. So there's a whole range of stuff. Like I used it at my mom's funeral a few weeks ago. My mom died very unexpectedly and she was all religious. And her pastor was trying to turn it into a Jesus infomercial instead of just having it be her funeral. And I was troubled by this. And I was getting all worried about the funeral, that I was going to have to confront him and tell him to, this isn't about Jesus, this is about my mother. But I had asked the guides to come in and I set the intention that it be a peaceful, joyful experience. And I was feeling good when I would relax and just trust. And I was feeling anxious and worried when I would think, oh man, I'm going to have to tell this guy to fuck off, right? And I can't tell the pastor to do that. But if he starts getting all in my face, right? I'm an ordained minister. I can stand up here. I don't need your prayers. Anyway, I finally realized, oh, this is easy. The right thing feels good, and I can just trust. The other stuff doesn't feel good because that's not the right thing to do. And I just let it go. I said sorry to the guys that it took me so long to figure that one out this time. And it worked out. It was perfect. He was not a jerk to me. Other people handled him for me that I didn't even know about. So it was a beautiful experience. And that's the kind of thing you can do with your guides. You can ask them for help with everything. And if you don't know what to ask, you can say, I don't know what to ask. Please help me. And they'll help.
So first of all, I hope you all are utterly charmed by Jules as I am, and would love to read more of her on the page. And also, Julia wrote down the thing that I wanted to emphasize is I love what you said, the right thing feels good. And that's how we know. That's so simple, so eloquent.
That's how you know if a lot of times when people start, they're like, am I making this up? Right? The easiest way is the guides are never going to yell at you. It always feels good. So if it feels good, you're probably sensing their presence. So anyway, go ahead, AJ.
A number of people have shared in the chat that they are using your scripts in their lives. And KP asks, is a non-answer ever an answer?
Yeah. A non-answer can be, a lot of times you're not going to get a direct answer. You're going to get a different perspective. You're going to get an experience of yourself that's broader than you might have thought, right? A lot of what the guides are going to bring you is an expanded sense of self because you're going to be starting to get in touch with your own inner intuition and your connection to your guides. So I would say if you get a non-answer and you're trying to figure out what to do, back up because maybe you're not asking the right question, or ask for help. What I'm sensing not an answer. How, just keep asking. Can you help me understand what this is? Sometimes you can use tarot decks or oracle cards to help you understand what you're sensing. If you're just starting out and you're not right, you're not sure what am I getting, what am I not doing here, but I would just keep asking, but consider, oh, perhaps this is an indication that my perspective, my approach, my understanding is perhaps I need to look at that part of it, because the answer can't come if I'm not framing the correct situation. Does that make sense, KP?
Any other questions before we move into the next excerpt? This is a great opportunity, by the way, if you do have questions. Okay, if you think of one, put it in the chat. Oh, wait, I see. Arena, are you typing a question? No. Oh, I thought you had that sitting up to type stance thing that just happens sometimes. Okay, what is our next excerpt?
I'm going to read something from the chapter on how to work with your guides on your dreams, and then a little bit from the chapter on how to work with your guides on your goals.
Okay, I'm going to have you just read through those excerpts, and then when you're done, let me know, and we'll move on to the next questions. I'm so excited you're doing dreams and goals.
I know, I knew you would be, because you were always like, write these chapters. This is what
Because she wrote it in order. She wrote the whole thing in order, and you don't get to the dreams and goals till later. So it's like, why can you just not give me these chapters?
So these are now chapters 4 and 5, even before I tell you how to start your practice. And
yeah,
that's for AJ. So
that's right. All right, here you go.
okay. Using your guide's energy to fuel your dreams. Dreaming is where you really begin to experience the power of working with your guides. I have bent pages. All right. So I go through a couple ways that you can do this. What if and how good can I let it be? Sometimes my dreams are constricted by what I think is possible, what I've been told I could have, or what's happened before. This constraint is unnecessary and sometimes something the guides can help you blow past. One way to deal with it is to ask the questions, what if, and how good can I let it be? I find that the answers I get to these questions are especially expansive if I ask them while doing something relaxing, like sitting in a warm bath or a beautiful garden. Here's an example. Let's say you're looking for a new job. You could think about the kind of job you want and the place you'd like to work, and then ask questions that help create what you want, but also expand your ideas of what is possible. What if I liked my coworkers? What if I got a great raise? What if I got to use all my skills? What if my boss and the teams I worked with recognized, respected my skills and experience? What if I had flexible hours or could work at home? What if I worked someplace where I could take a walk in a park at lunch? What if there were great opportunities for me to advance in the company? You can do this with anything you dream about, having more money to pay bills, resolving your health issues, finding the perfect partner, living in a great place, etc. The same goes for how good can I let it be? Let's say you have dreams of starting a business so you don't need to work for anyone else, and you're thinking about what that could be. You consider the skills you have and what you could offer that people might want. But do you think about what would bring you the greatest joy? What could you create that would bring you not only financial freedom, but the kind of wealth that gives you sovereignty in life and complete freedom in all your decisions? Don't stop reading now just because you think that will never be possible. Imagine, that's all we're doing here. What if you could be sovereign in your life, making decisions with a focus on joy and freedom? What would that feel like? Again, just dream and expand what you imagine might be possible. Try on what that would feel like and how you'd move through your day if it was your reality, and then make it even better. How yummy can you let it feel when your dreams come true? Of course, ask your guides to help with this. That's the whole point of this chapter. Play with these questions and approaches to see if what you're imagining can get even better. Your soul might want things that your mind never thought you could obtain. Okay, and now we'll go into the goals chapter. Once you have a working process for communicating with your guides, you can use their help to reach your goals in both general and specific ways, even if you don't have a strong sense of their presence. Think of them as a support system that gives you both a framework for decision making and details on how to complete individual tasks that will help you realize your vision. Your guides can support and amplify your efforts and help you decide on next steps or best choices. But the decision to do something and the actions required to move forward with what you want come from you. Your guides help sustain the effort and bolster your confidence in your ability to complete it. That's where your partnership really kicks in. There are a lot of similarities between how you go about this and how you get general support for your dreams, but the difference here is setting an intention and carrying out the action. All the tools discussed earlier, intention, imagination, and energy, apply here with additional focused energy because you have a targeted intention. This is where you can best apply the whole toolkit I'm sharing in this book to identify what you need, to ask for what you specifically need help with, and to let the guides figure out how to get it done. You can ask the guides to help you be efficient with your time and how you approach defining the goal, breaking it down into steps, revising as you go along, and prioritizing the work. You can also ask specifically for guides of efficiency and those with the energy to jump in and help. You don't need to know their specific names or types. You're doing the work you usually do to accomplish something, but asking for support and inspiration along the way, so you get into a flow of ideas and action more easily and are energetically supported by the guides while you're doing it. That's it. That's all I was going to read.
All right, I'm gonna ask you to talk about some more things though, because we're only half an hour into this Monday night reading.
All right.
Okay. I want to share with everybody here something that was deeply personal. First of all, there are great stories in here. You're not reading them, but
I
there
know,
are
but
that's okay.
the stories felt long to me.
I understand. They're not, and that's okay. You can opt out. It's okay. You do have a very deeply personal story in chapter 8, and I don't want to ask you to read that now. because it's your choice which you feel like you want to read. But I do want to tell everybody that in that chapter 8, how to get help in times of trauma or trouble. When you were in class, I was going through a really, really challenging time with my son. And you were so helpful to me and so kind to me about how do you deal with things in times of trouble. But what I really learned from you starts on page 141, how to ask for help for others.
Mm.
And you don't have to read the section, or you can if you want, but I just want to read some of these headers for the section. This is calling in the guides, sending light to someone. That's what you advised me to do. And asking for support for a child, supporting someone going through a tough challenge, addressing relationships with love. And then right after it, which seems fitting, is a whole section called What to Do If Nothing Seems to Be Happening. And I just need to share, since we're not reading as much, I will share the story that I think that helped me so much to get through a really challenging time when someone else is having a hard time and you can't really impact the outcome. That is such a helpless feeling. And one of my big takeaways in helping you bring this book into the world is that often our distress is related to the things that we feel we can't do anything about. And
Mhm.
working with the spirit guides at least gives us something to do. We can, at a minimum, send light to someone. We can, at a minimum, ask for help from whatever we believe in. And I found that not just comforting, but really helpful and also calming my own anxieties. So I
And
wanted to call it out because it's important that, I mean, I feel like this book is so rich in helping you at pretty much anything that is happening in your life. The thing you want, the dreams and the goals, but also the things that you didn't ask for that's coming into your life that you maybe need some help with. So I just wanted to point that out to everyone here. What did you want to say, Jules?
well, I wanted to say, and there's specific scripts for all those sections. I just
Yes.
loaded it up with scripts because the number one question I would get when I would teach people or give a private session is they'd say, well, I don't know what to say.
Yes.
And so I just wrote a bunch of scripts. There's nothing sacred about them. I just literally was typing and said stuff, right? So you can change anything in there, but in particular, that the idea of sending love to somebody is something that I used to completely transform my relationship with my mom over time. I had a difficult relationship with my mom. I had a very violent childhood, and she continued to drive me crazy through my life. But I was trying to find ways to have our relationship be better. And it wasn't something we could talk about because he just wasn't like that. So I would send love to her soul. And I would ask that she be held by the light and have the guides around her. And it completely changed our relationship. She became less defensive. She became much more affectionate. She was complimentary. She was kind. And that's all I did, was just send her light. You can also do this with, like, when your kids are teenagers and right, communication is difficult. You can send them love. You can just hold them, right? That doesn't change their decision. That doesn't change their free will. That doesn't, you're just sending them love and asking that they be held. And it can change things. So
I'm so
book
glad.
is
I'm so glad that you didn't give us a lot to read so that we could have these moments that, like what you just shared. And
well, that's what I figured. I'd
okay,
rather answer questions than
maybe the guide said just pick a couple things. We're just gonna have a little chit chat for the rest of it. So that's, people are gonna hear what they need to hear. I cannot wait for you to read this chat. You have super fans here, Jules. You have super fans here. The scripts are the thing that we wanted the most. Anybody in your cohort, me, I asked for them all the time. So, I remember saying to you, you can't have too many. You cannot have too many scripts. And I'm glad that that is working for y'all. Mara has a question that I think is a great question. Are the guides here now?
Yes, they are. I set the intention last night that, first of all, that I be just an open channel for everybody who is here and listening to the call to be able to access their guides and to feel the love that is all around. And yeah, they're here. They're always with you. It's not like they came with me. I just set the intention. My house isn't that big. I just set the intention that I would be like a portal to help people experience that love. But they're all around you. You know what they really want out of this? They want to give you hugs. Then they were doing this the whole time I was writing the book. They would just be leaning over and like, oh, come on, we want to give them hugs. We want to give them love, So no, they're here now.
What is something that was surprising about your author journey?
I know you're not going to believe me when I say this, but it was that I'm a good writer. Because
Really?
I did not know that. I had never been told I was a good writer. And I wasn't a technical writer at work. I was a project manager for environmental permits for very large capital projects. So I herded the cats, the technical engineers who weren't used to writing, and I would make it adhere to regulatory requirements and give it a common voice. But when I signed up for the class, I was so afraid because I
Oh,
had wanted to write this book for a decade. I kept trying to find a way to share what I do that would help people. And I just made a promise to myself. It's like, I'm not going to give up. And if I suck, I'm going to just keep asking for help, and I'm going to show up for edits. And so it was surprising to me when y'all were just like, well, you're a good writer. It's like, well, I didn't know that.
I mean, I think I told your copy editor when I said, hey, maybe you'd like to take on this new person. It's going to be so great for you because she's such a good writer. And
And Zoe is wonderful. I just love her. We met and had coffee. So
oh, good. So what you're saying is the surprising thing was you discovered you're a good writer.
yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. Uh, what is the change you want to see in the world through this book?
Well, this is a nice lead-in question to the last thing that I want to read. Well, it's two things. Again, I want everybody who reads the book to just be able to tap into all the love that's around them and to learn how to access the love of their soul and their gifts and strengths from their soul. Because what happens when you work with your guides, you entrain your frequency to them. So over time, you're able to access more of your soul and embody more of your soul and the gifts and the exuberance of your soul. But the second thing is, I want people, it's a selfish reason, I want people as they access those soul gifts and work with their guides to apply those gifts and the support of their guides to help create a more just, sustainable, equitable, peaceful planet. We are all here now for a reason. We chose to be human at this time when the patriarchy is dying and kicking its little hissy fit feet as it does. And I'm sorry to say, I think things are going to get a little worse before they get better. But there's a lot that we can do, especially when we can access peace of mind to counteract the violence and stupidity that is inherent in our cultural experiences now in this country and around the world. So that's what I want. I want people to use it.
Wow. Cultivate peace of mind to counteract the violence and stupidity in this country and around the world.
And I'll point out exactly what I mean by that when I read the last chapter.
All right, and then
The last
hopefully,
chapter.
I think we will have time for there's a couple more questions, so we'll do those at the end. Let's go ahead and hear the excerpt.
So I want to say that this is the only chapter that I rewrote multiple times. And Darcy helped me with that. And Zoe helped me with that because they both were just like, you're not saying it right. I wasn't saying what I really wanted to say. And every time I revised it to say more what I wanted to say, it just kept getting shorter, but more like, here you go, right? So I wanted to thank Darcy because she's here tonight. Okay. And now my throat's starting to go, Darcy. All right. I set the intention that my throat stays open, and I ask for the assistance of my guides to help me read this chapter, parts of this chapter. All right. So the title of this chapter is How You've Changed and What You Can Do with It. I'm going to read this first part, and then I'll read some of the back.
Can I interrupt? If your throat's okay, can you just, it's very short, maybe just read it all.
I'm not going to read it all, but
Okay.
I will read most of it.
Okay.
So
You go ahead. We just want more, is all. Go ahead.
This first sentence will not be a surprise to anybody who's listening to me tonight. I'm not one of those spiritual people who never gets angry. These times fill me with rage at not being able to make a bigger impact or limit. Sorry. Sorry. These times fill me with rage at not being able to make a bigger impact or limit people's suffering, especially children's. Recently, I was meditating on peace, but got frustrated. It didn't feel like enough. I asked my guides for help. And here's what they said. Become incandescent with your rage at the suffering of people on the planet. If that doesn't feel powerful enough, imagine your rage as light eruptions, geysers of light, tsunamis of light. The Earth's power to reset and clear can be a guide and example at this time. Your light triangulates with the light of those you've called forth to reset energies, patterns, and light grids, so they are infused with love and not the fears of small men driving patriarchal patterns. We are present now. Call in, tap into, expand into the energies, and help at hand to construct a new earth. So even though they're always positive, they're very powerful. And especially the goddesses. The cosmic Isis does not mess around. And when you call in the goddesses and have them come in to help you, you are going to get things done because they're just tired of messing around with all this stuff. So anyway. What you've read so far will help you get guidance in ways that best fits into your life and to trust the guidance you're getting. Once that happens, you'll start to feel some of what I've described above because you'll embody more of your soul light, strengths, and powers. Here's what I hope you come to know as truth and part of your everyday life. You know, I'm really sorry. You're never alone. Help is at hand whenever you need it. No matter what happens in your life, you have help to handle it. You're deeply loved, supported, guided, and held. You're worthy of being loved and all good things coming to you. You've changed, now use it. The planet is messed up. Whole countries are in chaos and suffering is everywhere. Being an embodied soul at this time. Come on, y'all. Come on. Being an embodied soul at this time of great upheaval is a gift and a responsibility. There are many souls lined up, hoping for the chance to become embodied on the planet during these times of massive transformation, even for short periods of time. You won the embodiment lottery. And now you can be an energy resistance worker by calling in peace, justice, and compassion with your morning coffee and seeing these energies fill up the planet like water in a well. Calling in the support of your guides. You can set the intention for your energy and time to be focused on activities and people in line with your integrity and core values. Feeling joyful and creative is a subversive act when the powers running the world want you to feel anger and fear. Love, joy, bliss, and compassion are exponentially more powerful than hatred or fear due to the difference in their frequencies. Choosing to spend at least a part of your day flowing with the energy of your soul and resting in the enveloping love of your guides can be a massive contribution to a more peaceful planet, even if it's in small increments over time. If nothing else, intend to start your day filled with peace and move through the day as a beacon of peace, a lighthouse, an embodied star. Anchor peace in your home and garden as you drive your car or take transit, and every time you interact with someone. Hosts of enlightened beings are ready to help you anchor that light to start changing the world. It's going to take all of us showing up to heal the planet. Be subversively spiritual and let your love erupt exuberantly from your heart. Let it be boisterously incandescent. In every message I've channeled, in every private session and course I do, the guides always repeat the same message, how deeply loved we are and how ready they are to help us. I hope you feel all the love that went into this book and that's flowing around you now. It's ready when you need it, and it's already with you. Archangel Michael shared some thoughts with me on the power of our resilience and the need to share our gifts in these times of chaos on the planet. Thank you for your efforts, your perseverance, your willingness to get up again after you fall, and the resilience of your heart. It is a thing of wonder to us, for we have rested always in the comfort of the light, while you have chosen to be blind to the truth of your beauty, to stumble through the mud, and to be washed anew against the rocks of these times. Release these final bonds and chains that keep you meek and thinking small. You cannot hide your light now. You cannot convince yourself that your time to act, speak, and share is any time other than now. Flood your surroundings with the light within you that cannot be contained. That is your power and your mission now. We love you. We hold you. We carry you. We sing to you. We remember you. We see you clearly. We are right here with you, cheering you on. What beauty be this love we have for you. That's my favorite message ever.
Beautiful. Thank you for soldiering through. No apologies needed. We all were completely focused and not in any way concerned about that. I do want to give, we have a tiny bit of time left, and KP had asked another question. In the book, you talk about a council of guides.
Mhm.
Um, and so KP was asking, I think you said, KP, you want to share it? What you
Sure, I
asked?
was just curious if you could share more and how to work with a council of angels and guides. I loved your description of how you have regular meetings and bring them in. And I would love to hear you just elaborate. I would just say it again, maybe elaborate on it if you would.
So I have several councils. Some of them are specific to the work that I do with them for the planet, but I think the way that it could be applied for most people is I have a creativity council that I use to help write the book. So what I did was call in guides, and these can be archetypes. You don't have to think right that you're actually calling in, Jane Austen. But anyway, I called in Jane Austen and Mary Louise Alcott and Burl Markham, who are three women whose work I really admire. And so you can just think about what you want. Like if you're going after a goal and you realize that being efficient with your time isn't something that you're good at or that you really need help with to meet a deadline, you can say, I call upon all the guides of highest light who can help me be efficient in my work. So you don't have to know the guides in that instance. You can just call forth that type of being. If you're looking for confidence or strength, you can call in a being such as the goddess Isis that you know embodies that, even if you don't previously have a working relationship with them, right? You can call in a general level of support by saying things like, I call upon all my ancestors, and ancestors don't have to be just your family. They can be like, I have a lot of shamanic indigenous ancestors because I do a lot of work on the planet. You can ask for something like that. I call upon all my ancestor spirits to help guide me in the expression of my talents and gifts. So you can look at it multiple ways. You don't have to know their names. If you have the name, you can call them in. You don't have to experience their presence around you. If you're really visual like I am, I have this whole landscape, this temple of light where I go to. And because I'm very visual and I don't sit around and do a quiet meditation, I see and experience, it's like I'm in a movie. So when I go into this temple, which I developed because it has this big medieval door, like you would see in the Medina in Morocco, for instance, the wood with the metal stakes. When I close that door, it shuts up the voices in my head. But I go in the tent and I just imagine them there with me. Sometimes there's no one there, but I still sit in the tent. So you can create a space like that. And the more you're there with your guides, it becomes a resonance chamber that is imbued with the frequencies of your guides and the intention of your goals that you're setting when you're in that space. And so just play with it. Does that help?
It does. Thank you. And if I can just squeeze in, as you know, I love this book so much. And thank you so much for putting it out there. And thank you for what you're doing in the world and showing the rest of us what to do.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. Same back at you. I love your book. I used your book to help me finish my book.
Yay. One more little question, and that's from Irina. Can you talk a little bit more about tarot if you have the time? So you said earlier you pull a card sometimes.
Oh, I have used tarot for decades just because I like to play with it. I do a reading every Sunday. I use tarot not so much to ask a specific question, but to get an idea of the energies for the coming week and things to be aware of. So, or before I'm going to start something, like write a book, I throw the cards to give me, it's just another way of getting guidance. So if I do talk about the tarot and I put together some layouts in the workbook, and if you don't have the workbook, you know, I could share those, but that's how I use tarot. Now, when you're first starting out, when you're starting, trying to see if you're understanding clearly, you can use tarot or oracle cards as another means for the guides to give you guidance, right? And again, you can set the intention. I set the intention that I'm able to receive guidance from my guides, or you can just be open to what the cards might want to tell you. And my guide, my way that I pick out decks is I like the artwork. It's inclusive. It has to be inclusive. I don't want a deck with it's all a bunch of white chicks with long hair. I just it's not reality. And it needs to feel comfortable to hold them in your hand. Now you can't always check that out because most of the time you can't touch them, but you can look at them. And so mainly it's the artwork. And I always use the guidebook a lot. So I pick decks with big guidebooks. But you know, play around. What do you like? What do you respond to? Is that helpful?
What I love so much about you, Jules, is that everything is accessible, easy, do it your way, what works for you. It's nothing feels like this, you must do it this way, this is the only way. You won't get as much goodness if you do it that way. It's all very um uh, optimistic and lovely and flexible and doable. I love doable. So I appreciate that. You have some seriously big fans. So listen, here's the thing. Those fans came from reading the book. This is what I always say. Please write a book that people love. Please write a book that's useful because this is what happens. So now Jules, who was previously unknown to the super fans here, has super fans. And what we need is more super fans for Jules. So something you can do, in addition to getting the book and then also the workbook, is you can spread the word. You can let people know about it. You can leave a review. Reviews, Jules needs reviews, y'all. So if you can maybe, it takes 5 minutes. You could take one thing you heard today and use that for your review. Please, I would love for all of you to support so that Jules can get more super fans. Did you have something you wanted to say, Jules?
Yeah, I wanted to say two things. First of all, I would love some reviews because I'm going to apply with this or talk to this agency that gets self-published people international distribution and translation rights. And I've met their sales goals, but I would love to be able to show that people are actually loving the book. The second thing is that it was like, I don't know, January, and I was trying to do marketing stuff. And I finally went to the guides and I said, okay, I suck at this. I'm struggling. Y'all have to help me. Sorry, I gotta let the dog in. And so I gave them assignments. I used like the stuff I do in the goals. But they told me, even when I started writing the book, that this was going to be one of those word of mouth books. And so I don't worry if there's slow, you know, small sales at first. But then they showed me the globe with little lights coming on. And it was people who love the book telling someone else about the book and that it was just going to go around the globe that way. And so that's what I've held.
I am absolutely loved this night more than I can possibly tell you. This has been the most wonderful Monday night reading, the off the cuff, unexpected, delightful. And I'm so grateful that you spent time with us, Jules. Everybody, please do what you can to support Jules and spread that word all over the globe. Is there anything else you want to say before we close, Jules?
I would just encourage everyone, AJ says this, to write a workbook because I'm selling as many workbooks as I am paperbacks. It's, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not that big a deal. Took more time to work it out, this layout with my copy editor. But Troy and I got on a call and we finally just worked through every page with, lines and stuff. So do it because it's really worth it. So that's all.
Yay. Yay. Next we have Michelle, right? And Michelle, are you up next? Michelle Arpin-Bagina. Actually, the book is available now, Be Good with Money. That's on the 20th of May. So I hope that you will all come and support Michelle. Thank you, everybody, for showing up for Monday night reading. I hope you had a magical experience this evening. I sure did. I sure did. And I saw almost every word of this book in workshop, and now I'm moving it to my bedside.
Well,
All right, everybody, have a good night.